Hi everybody, we're the Chris's, and we wanted to do a quick video because we're constantly trying to explain what we mean by continuous I as one way that we experience plural consciousness. So we're doing a little, what Lissy calls a screen scribble, to explain this concept. We're going to draw a little bit, and we've already started sketching our inner world point of view, and it's kind of based around Frank's comics, one of the Chris's who does comics, so we have Frank helping us draw it, and this way you get kind of a comic-y point of view of what's going on in our system. And we're speaking only from our own experiences. There are people who have a somewhat similar continuous awareness or I that is attached to them in some way, but this is our point of view on ours, just to make it easy to try and explain this to people. So we've made like a bare bones drawing based on Frank's comics. And so what you're looking at is our internal point of view of front. Actually, then there's like a window here that other people can look out and see what's going on outside. So that's like external point of view is outside of that doorway. And we interface with front through the doorway. Next to our front doorway here, there's a control panel, and that's where people can like lend skills to the person in front or take control of different parts of our body while the person is fronting. So that's kind of a dissociative mechanism where either the person in front can just use it or other people can kind of co-front or exert passive influence through the control panel. And on the control panel, we've always pictured the logbook, which is kind of where we keep recent events, not stuff that's been relegated to to longer term memory storage. But logbook is where we store recent information that the person in front needs easy access to, like what was just happening, what happened yesterday, what do we eat for breakfast? That's all in the logbook. It may be thrown out before it ever makes it to long-term storage. So this is like a bare bones setup for us to try to explain continuous I. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Tron, but there's something called bit. And so we kind of picture continuous I being kind of like bit. It just floats there in the air and looks kind of like a crystal or something, like kind of floating near front. So we put continuous I. We don't usually draw continuous I in our comics, but we put him, her, it into our drawing this time. Continuous I is actually a consciousness awareness fragment, or we call our fragments Lego bits. So it's kind of like a Lego bit, quote unquote. As in bit byte. It has kind of like a very bare bones functionality. And so it sits there near front or attached to front or the person in front. We're going to kind of show it as being attached to the person in front, kind of like a telepathic do, like they're in communication with each other, like kind of a symbiotic relationship. But continuous I also has the attachment to the logbook. So the person in front isn't like taking notes. Actually, continuous I is taking notes. It's a subconscious thing, but continuous I is what's doing the recording into the logbook. So these are all fragments. The control panel, the logbook, continuous I, the window, and the actual front doorway are all bits or fragments. And just to help everybody understand who knows us, we have the Chris mask. which is actually like the person in front is actually interacting through this mask. Kind of think that like there's a thin curtain running over that doorway, and that's Chris. So everything that person does through that curtain gets colored or kind of blended or insulated by that curtain so that people outside can't tell who is fronting as easily. So that's the Chris construct, is actually a mask or a veil over the doorway. I'd draw it, but it would just make this messy. So these are kind of important things. So continuous eye is not Chris. Chris is actually separate from continuous eye. And how do we know that continuous eye is a separate fragment? Because when we present in front of a crowd, sometimes continuous eye runs away. And so when continuous eye runs away, we lose our link to the logbook. We also lose our window link, I think, too, which is really weird. I don't know. We can no longer really get full sensory input through front. And so somebody's still at the controls and fronting, but we lose the awareness of what's going on. So awareness runs away. So continuous eye is a bit, and it's actually our awareness. So when we say we're being co-aware, we're all, I guess, telepathically linked or something to continuous eye to some degree, but usually front has the lion's share of that connection. Yeah, so that kind of explains that. We have all these other like co-consciousness or co-fronting fragments and things that are all like part of our interfacing with the external world. I'm looking at my notes to see if there's anything that's very, very important to talk about. So we are, so that nobody else thinks that they have to be like this, we're polyfragmented and we're co-conscious since childhood. So continuous eye has been around for a very, very long time. We've had a modular system. Sometimes really what's fronting instead of a person can actually be kind of like a robot or something kind of cobbled together. Or maybe we're on autopilot and nobody's fronting at all, and it's a bunch of bits, a bunch of fragments like attached to the control panel or something. But we make these Chris constructs that put our life kind of into autopilot. And we're all contributing something to it, so we all end up depersonalized, which is really sucky. So we're kind of everybody and nobody at the same time, but not in a we're one person kind of way, kind of like we're a nobody kind of way. It's like the opposite of being unified. It's actually being more fragmented, not less. So we can kind of fall apart into a bunch of pieces and put on a good show of running a life, but kind of being empty and without meaning, and it's not comfortable. So this is us at our most comfortable, I guess. This depiction is somebody is fronting, somebody distinct, and it's probably the back of Frank. Believe it or not. Funny shoes and all, but yeah, it's usually a striped shirt, but that looks like Frank. Long sleeves, hair, that's gotta be Frank. So Frank drew Frank being front. So this is like showing Frank fronting, the Chris mask in place. Some of these things we don't actually draw in the comics because it's just too much and it's extraneous. But for this, it's good. I'm looking at our notes to see what else. So the functional fragments don't have their own awareness, which is really funny because we call it continuous eye, but it doesn't really have an eye. What it does is allows us, when we switch, to continue to say I. That's why it's called continuous eye. Like from moment to moment, even when we're in the middle of a merge switch, we still like have this sense of being I, even though who I is changes. It's very weird. And this continuous I exists because it helped us both mask that we were switching to ourselves. So we didn't really realize for the longest time that we were plural, like when we were kids. We realized when we were 16. I mean, that's pretty young for plurals to realize, but we were at least partially co-aware from like age 7 on. And definitely by age 10, we were hearing each other in our head. So we still went on thinking it was really like, everybody's like this, everybody has more than one track in their head. Everybody's constantly, having conversations and commenting on what each other is thinking. And, this is just totally normal. Oh, the window, one of the funny things that can happen. So people like who are standing behind front and looking out, behind front being the person in front. But somebody standing behind that area or looking through the window, we can kind of get continuous comments from the peanut gallery sometimes. People who are aware of what's going on outside can be commenting on what's going on outside. And, we get these like snippets of conversation coming from other people constantly. Criticizing what we do sometimes, or just like cracking jokes, or somewhere in here, at some point we're going to figure out where the filk layer is in all of this. Because we have like a continuous music track. So it's like a earworm, but we have like a continuous music track, but it doesn't always play accurate music. Sometimes it starts mucking with the music. So there'll be like external music playing and it's changing the lyrics. So we'll gotta figure out where that is someday. So maybe we can fix it or something, or encourage it. I don't know. So we don't usually black out. Continuous I usually stays hooked up to front, and we change behind front. We change who is in front. And continuous I stays usually hooked up there. I mean, like 99% of the time. But when we present, sometimes it runs away. And the other time it's run away is when we get into a physical fight. We haven't done that in like so long, but when we did, continuous I fled. So there's been two instances in which we would brown out. So we've done accelerated resolution therapy on presenting, and we actually didn't brown out the last couple of times we presented. Actually now it's three or four times we presented without losing awareness, which is like awesome. It didn't stop us from being nervous as heck, or being dissociated as all the heck too, but we didn't lose the room. Like our visual didn't go away and our awareness didn't go away. So normally we like fade out, like we just lose visual and we lose a lot of the auditory. When we present, we'd get like kind of a hallway effect with our hearing, like hearing stuff way off in the distance and like fighting to understand what was going on. And we would lose visual, like completely wash out, like gone. So I have no idea if anybody in here is blind, but it was very much like gone. No visual. So continuous I would flee, like detach and go, we just run away. And then we'd have to ask people who were in the room, or we'd have to record ourselves to find out what had happened when we were presenting. And, we came to trust it because we did fine. Whoever was in front still did their job. They still said what was, intended to be said, did a good job, held the room, probably even looked at people and did all the presentery things that you're supposed to do, smiling, laughing, whatever. But we have just like zero memory of it. So the last 3 to 4 times since doing the accelerated resolution therapy, continuous eye has not fled. And maybe we get a shaky connection because of the dissociation, but it's still there, which is like super cool. Even though now we're like hyper aware of how anxious we are and breaking a sweat and shaking hands and whatever. So it's got its good and bad points, but we prefer knowing what we're doing while we're doing it. So this has been really cool, good progress. And we're really proud of continuous eye, even if it's not self-aware, that it's still sticking around for that. We kind of revolving door here, so other people, I'm going to draw tiny people because otherwise this is going to get messy too. Other people kind of, we do-si-do is one way we call it, or revolving door. We merge slightly, and just like the percentage of who is in front switches, kind of like one is stepping in while the other is stepping out, but we blend in the middle. So we've been doing blend switches, I want to say, for at least 15 to 20 years. Before that, it was force switching. In fact, in 2004, 2003 or 4, when we recorded the videos we have on our first YouTube channel, we have a few videos up because we only had 10-minute limit at the time. But we have a few videos up that are actually showing our body, and we did, it was a recording for ourselves that we decided to put up online after. I think we may have recorded it before we even had a YouTube channel. But we decided to put them online, so we had to split them into smaller bits. And then, so we put that up. Oh, and we had to force switch. So we ended up cutting out portions of the video where we were meditating in order to switch. So we actually had to close our eyes and really force switch. And it was very, very uncomfortable. So we did, I think 3 or 4 headmates had conversations in the video, and then, so we cut out the switching. So continuous eye, we can trace back to at least around 10 years old, but it's possible that it started younger than that. Some people have said that they're developing something like this, which is kind of interesting, where they get a continuous awareness where they didn't before and they had amnesias. And we did have, we're pretty sure we had amnesias. The problem is the way that continuous eye records in the logbook and then it ends up in the memory bank. Things get edited sometimes after the fact, so we can't even tell. The only way we can tell continuous eye works is through the logbook, because not everything in the logbook ends up in our memory banks. So there's somewhere in the editing process of what actually goes into long-term memory storage, or even short-term memory storage rather than immediate memory. There's different layers of memory. So the stuff that happened last week can start fading out, or we may have remembered the stuff happening last week, but then, a month from now it may go away. And we're not talking about routine stuff. We're talking about did we even see that movie? We had a whole day long conversation with someone once. They came to our apartment and we had a whole day of basically, getting to know them and interviewing them because they were going to move into the apartment as a roommate. A couple of years later, somebody walks up to us and is like, "Hey, Chris, blah, 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 blah." And we're looking at them like they have 3 heads. And they're like, "You don't remember us, do you?" And so we got caught with our memory pants down, and that was very embarrassing. But apparently we had spent, 8 to 10 hours or whatever, just talking and getting along great. They ended up not moving in. They moved in with their boyfriend, and we lost touch, but it just was gone. This whole incident with this person was no longer in our memory banks. And we still, to this day, do not really remember. Either that or we were being expertly gaslit, but, we're going to assume that actually happened and that it was just gone. And that's it. That's our 20 minutes of talking about continuous eye, and hopefully other systems who have an experience like this can use this information to help them describe this better to other people. and not feel so alone.